Alright, welcome back to the next to last part actually, I think, on this build series. I went ahead, I've got you focused in on the fretboard, because that's where, or on the frets, because that's where we're going to be doing our work. And I went ahead, you saw in the last part, finished up the electronics, got all of that installed in the guitar. I went through, tightened everything, I put the pickups back in, tightened all that stuff up and all of that. And when we get the strings on, I've got the recommended Gibson string height, which is like the bridge pickup is like a 16th and the neck pickup is 3/32. So we'll set those. Again, they're individual adjusters and all that, but I'll set that when I get the strings on it and all of that. In the last part, and I don't know how much of that, putting the truss rod cover on, and I don't know how much of that I'm going to film, and just doing the bits and pieces. I've got the pick guard. Again, it's just lining those things up and putting the screws in, so I'm not sure how much of that I'll film, how much I won't, but hopefully in the last part I'm going to have my son over and we're going to get a setup in the other room in my little guitar amp that I have and all of that, and let you hear how this thing sounds. I'm hoping it sounds as good as it's supposed to. So anyway, in this particular, let me just explain what I've got set up for this particular video. I've taken my straight edge, and on these frets, you can hear that maybe, all of these frets are uneven. They're not level at all. They've just been either pressed or tapped in, and they're not level. So if we try to get the string height, what'll happen is, because it's not level, if we try to get the string action low, which it should be, then you're going to end up with some buzzing because you've got high spots in the frets. So we're going to do what they call a fret leveling. I've got this is a 12-inch radiused neck, meaning the radius that goes across here, if you were to extend the circle, it would be a 12-inch circle. So I've got a 12-inch radius block, and I just have the one camera running today right here and for this particular part. But I've got the 12-inch radius block, and what I've done, I took masking tape and put on the block itself, and then I cut a piece of, this is 320 sandpaper, and I put super glue on the back of the sandpaper and stuck it to the masking tape. So when I'm done and this paper is ready to get changed, all I have to do is peel off the masking tape, and nothing is permanently attached to the sanding block. So anyway, that's a neat little trick for you if you're going to use a radius sanding block. What I'm going to do, I've got this, it's just a permanent magic marker. It doesn't really matter what color as long as you can see it. This particular one just happens to be orange, and I can see that. I've taped off. Again, I mentioned in the last part that I had already cleaned up the fretboard and oiled it and all of that. So maybe I could have waited on that, but anyway, to not mess up the fretboard at all, I just went ahead and masked it like so. Just a few. It didn't take very long at all, just a few minutes to mask this off. And now I'm going to take the magic marker, or the orange, and I'm just going to color all the frets, and what it'll do is I can watch, and as I sand, once all of the magic marker has been removed from the top of the frets, we're level and we can stop. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, the color, or not on here, but I can see it. Maybe I'll take a look in the viewfinder here, and again, I kind of slipped off on the tape, so that's the whole kind of the point of marking these, or masking off the fretboard there. Let's see, maybe I'll take you handheld. Try not to bounce you too much, but let me take you handheld for just a second. So you can see, try not to get you too much of the bright light there. Oh, there you go. That's a good. So I've taped everything off, colored all of the frets. Now I'm going to take the 320, sand them flat, and maybe I'll give you another view once everything is level. Bring you back down and let you see the difference, but get you back on the tripod there. Again, hopefully not too much of a bumpy ride for you there. So, and I'm not going to use a lot of downward pressure. I did take a straight edge. I had to loosen off the truss rod, the nut for the truss rod. I had to loosen that to flatten. There was a little bit of a back bow in the neck. So I loosened that. So we're as flat as I can possibly get this. So here we go. I've got 320 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to take strokes, and I don't need to move side to side. I just put, once the sand block is on, I'm just going to go full length with even but not very hard pressure. I don't want a lot of downward pressure on the neck. And so I'll just take as few passes as it takes to get the magic marker off of there. You can also see I put a t-shirt over the body of the guitar. I didn't want a lot of the sanding and all of that to get on the body of the guitar. So I'm just going to go back and forth here. You can kind of see that process. I may bump this part of the video into time lapse. I can see bits and pieces of the marker coming off, but I'm just going to sand until I don't see any more of the orange magic marker. Alright, let me grab, I'm just going to brush this off really quickly. This does make a little bit of a mess, so but you don't have much of a choice, you just kind of got to do it. So I think that's all the filing that we need to do, or all the sanding we need to do with the sanding block. And the next step will be to recolor. Let me bring you handheld one more time so you can see where I am. So you can see everything is flat. Hopefully you can see that. So now the frets are level. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the orange marker and recolor the frets. Get you back on the tripod here, so bear with me just a second on that. But what I'm going to do is take, again, the orange marker. There we go. Got you back in and focused a little bit. So I'll take the orange marker again, and then I'm going to take I have a fret crowning file. This is a diamond fret crowning file. And I'm going to file the crown. The crowning file is shaped like it's shaped like the crown shape, because we don't want these flat. It has that shape, the dome shape. Dome is the word I was thinking of, that domed shape that we want. So, but again, I'm going to color it just so I know it kind of just gives me a reference for what I need to take off. What I want to leave is just I want to leave just the smallest amount, because I don't want to lose my levelness in my frets. So remarking them, and I'll use the crowning file until there's just the teeniest little bit of the orange left at the very peak of each of the frets. And then I know that I still have level, but I also have the shape that I want. And then I'll take a 600 grit sandpaper and just sand across the top to polish everything up. I've got my, and then I'll actually take some polish. I've showed you that trick before. And I'll polish each fret, and then we'll just be done with that process and ready to move on to the rest of this, getting the rest of this guitar put together. What I'm going to do is just go with the file, and I'm going to file each one of these and leaving just the smallest sliver of the orange marker, and then come back. I've got some 600 grit sandpaper, and I've got my polish. I'll take a little rag and some of my polish on top of the 600, and the frets will just be really shiny and smooth and all of that, so bending won't be an issue, playing, any of that kind of stuff's not going to be an issue. So I'm going to try not to block your view. I might actually move you because I'm right-handed, so the way I have you in the tripod and all that, I would have to work left-handed, and I don't think I want to do that. So let me shift you around. I apologize for bumping you there, but let me give you a view, maybe like that. And you can kind of watch the process, a little bit of the process here. And also, I mentioned that the fret ends were kind of rough. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that as I'm filing the crown in. I'll take the crowning file, kind of go over the edge a little bit, and take care of any of the roughness that is along the edge. If I need to take a little small hand file and do that, I'll do that as well, to just get rid of the fret end, the rough ends of the frets. And that's really all it takes with this diamond file. And again, I'm just kind of watching. It's where the bright shop light really comes in handy, so I can see just the smallest sliver of flatness in the fret there, and I don't have to worry about losing the levelness. Levelness, is that a word? The leveling won't go away. Alright, that's really the process with the crowning file. So I think what I'm going to do for the rest of these is just either cut this part of the video or maybe time-lapse it or something, and I'm going to get the rest of this done. Alright, welcome back. I'm done with the leveling. You watched me do that with the radius block, and then you watched me some up in here and then the rest in time lapse, and with the crowning file, and some of them you could tell I had to file more on some of them because they were sanded down more. They were higher, and so they got sanded down more, which means they had more of a flat spot that needed to be rounded back off. So we're in good shape with that. I've got, this is just 600 wet or dry. I'm not going to use it wet. I'm going to just use it dry. I'm going to cut myself off a few pieces of this, and then I'm going to just sand along here. Again, I've got this fretboard protected, so I'm not worried about that. But I just want to go ahead and get rid of the file marks, and the 600 does a really good job of that. So that's kind of again, and this is the way that I choose to do things. There are other people who do things differently and have different methods and tools and all of that. That's just how I choose to do it. I mean, some people use these fret protectors and, you know, kind of do this kind of a thing. Not sure I really need to do that since I've got this all taped off, so there's really nothing to protect. I have used those, like if I'm doing work on just 1 or 2 frets, then I'll do that, but in this case there's really no need for that. What I've done is just kind of folded the sandpaper here, trying to get, and I'm just watching, keeping an eye in the shop light. Again, the 600 is not going to take off much material, but I do want to get rid of the filing marks, so that's kind of what I'm doing here, just using the 600 grit, and I'm going to polish these frets, so it doesn't really matter if I go this direction, it honestly doesn't matter, because once I polish everything up, they're gonna look super nice anyway. This is just to help me get rid of the filing marks. So again, there's the process on that. I'm just going to take a little bit of time and do the rest of these and get them looking really nice, and then I will bring you back. I'm not even going to time lapse this. I'm just going to stop this part of the video. I'll come back when, and you can watch me polish a couple of them. And again, it's just time. It's not anything difficult. It just takes time. Got to work your way one end to the other. And so I'm going to stop the video at this point. I'll be back with you in just a little bit. All right, welcome back. I've gone ahead and done the rest of the frets with 600, and you can see I've got some polish out on the upper frets here, and then you can see this one I've already polished, and I think, I'm gonna readjust the camera just a little bit. Yeah, maybe I am. I think I hit the wrong button on the tripod there. Sorry about that. Maybe. Wow, I'm just really bouncing you around here. So, sorry about that. I just want to make sure you can see the difference there. And I think you can. This is with the 600 grit sandpaper. That's polished on top of the 600, so you can see the difference. And I'm zoomed in as far as I can there, but I think you can see the difference. I'm seeing it on the viewfinder there, so I'm going to do just a couple of these on camera so you can see. And what I do is I just take, I use this, it's made by Half-Pitch Semi-Chrome Polish. That's what I use to polish frets, and then I just take a piece of an old towel that I've cut up, and that's my finger wrapped up in there. And then it's just a little bit of the polish and a little bit of elbow grease. And you can just hopefully see the difference there, see how it shined up. I really wish I could get you a good view overhead with the shop light, because they really almost reflect like a mirror. They get so shiny. But that's kind of the process. So let me do another one or two here. Again, it's just a little bit of elbow grease. There's a small amount of an abrasive in the semi-chrome polish, and what that does is just takes out even the marks from the 600 grit sandpaper, and you can see kind of the stuff that comes off there that was on the frets just from being filed and sanded. And so it cleans them up, polishes them, makes them super nice. I know some people that just do the sandpaper and just leave it at, like, you know, a 600 grit sandpaper or whatever, maybe do 1,000 and then don't worry about polishing. But I really like the way, for me, the polish, I really like how it looks too. It just makes those frets just kind of sparkle. So for me, it's as much about how it looks as how it performs. So I'm going to do one more for you here on camera, and then I'm going to stop you again, and I'm going to polish out the rest of the frets. And then once I have everything polished, I'm going to take the tape off, and I'll give you one last view of everything. I'll bring you back and kind of let you see one last view of the entire fretboard. So I've already done, just in that short time, can you see there's first fret, and I've polished the first 5 just in that time that you've been watching and I've been jabbering. So what I'm going to do is just jump on to the rest of these and get them done, and then take this tape off, and I'll be back with you